Welcome into our Stranger Things series finale review. So the series is over, no more Stranger Things, and we're going to get into that. So this is Why So Sidious Pod. We are at Why So Sidious Pod, TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast. It is me, Jeremy. We got David. We got Caleb. And we're going to review Stranger Things. And also, by the time you're hearing this, I mean, for YouTube, if you also connect with our Spotify, there's kind of a gap in content because we're dealing with a little switch over to our host of our podcast. So it's been a little rocky switching over, but that'll get fixed soon. By the time you're hearing this, you'll probably see that like 5 episodes got dropped very soon, and as a group. So that's because of all that technical difficulty stuff. But look out for that. So there's going to be a ton of episodes coming out right around this one. And yeah, so give us a like, subscribe, follow. We also have a website now. We did a little code pen website. Eventually, we'll probably do a little HTML and actually have it like whysocidious.com. But that will actually link you up with our merch shop, our podcast itself, and some other fun little nerd things. So check it out. It should be in the description of our YouTube or Spotify, our podcast description. And yeah, so Stranger Things. Let's get into it. And pretty much to give a nice overview of how we felt about it overall, let's compare it, ranking the 5 seasons. So where would season 5 fit on our ranking? We just did a Stranger Things, a big old episode covering seasons 1 through 4, kind of recapping that. And we also ranked them in that episode. So, David, where does season 5 fit on this list? And did it meet expectations?
Season 5, although, and obviously we're going to get into it, I think for the most part, it was a satisfying conclusion. I don't know that it hit all of my expectations. I think it was still lacking in certain aspects of the Vecna storytelling and a couple other things there that I was really hoping to get after a crazy season 4 that I loved. And after bringing on this awesome villain in Vecna in season 4, I had really high hopes for this season. I felt like it missed a couple of times, but it landed smack dab in the middle for me. So I got it at 3rd place, best being season 1, season 4, and then season 5 for my top 3. So season 4 still beat it for me.
All right. I think I have it at the same exact spot. What about you, Lub?
Yeah, I think it's 1, 4, 5, 3, 2 for me. I just think season 5 had the lull with episodes like 6 and 7. Where it was just like volume 2 was a lot of setup for the finale. And I feel like season 4 had a lot more going on in those last 4 episodes.
Yeah, because if we're going to get into the gripes with this section, like why isn't it number 1 or 2? This season felt like it was nothing but planning and planning and planning and planning and Vecna doing his stuff a little bit. But it didn't really have that core, that like kind of storytelling core that seasons like our favorites 1 and 4 kind of had. It was, but again, satisfying conclusion. I actually did really like it, right? So we're just gonna get the gripes out of the way.
It is hard to finish a show too, so I feel like overall it was still a solid finish,
right? Because if we consider a ton of other series finales, it actually,
right.
I mean, it's often a kind of a letdown. Look at Sons of Anarchy. Everyone's not happy about how it ended. Breaking Bad, not stoked about how it ended. Game of Thrones, obviously not stoked about how it ended. So for a finale, it actually it matches up to other series finales really well.
Yeah, I think Breaking Bad got decent reception for its thing, but Game of Thrones definitely got ripped. It's definitely been a pattern. I have a lot of gripes, which I'll go over, but I will say overall, yeah, as a full-on wrap-up conclusion, I think they did a fairly good job with it. But I definitely have a solid amount of gripes. Are we rolling full on into the gripes here?
Yeah, let's get into it. Why isn't it better than season 1 and season 4?
So I'll start us off. The Duffer Brothers teased deaths in this. And I get it. At this point, what we learned about this show, this isn't Game of Thrones.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, obviously full spoilers for everything. But nobody died. I mean, military soldier number 1 through 6, Callie, a couple other inconsequential people, but nobody important. No main characters died off, and I get that. But I saw this thing online that said, It said, I think all the Stranger Things theories were so good that the fan base thought it was going to be Inception, when in reality it was just the Goonies, which
Yeah.
is kind of the case. That's kind of what the show ended up being, I think. So that was, I guess it just felt like there were no stakes at the end. They finished the beast off very quick. Nobody dies. They all survive. It was just a little bit too Goonish for me. Even though, again, that kind of is what this is.
Yeah, I'd say that one of my gripes is a group of kids fighting a kaiju. Like, as cool and kind of cinematic visually as that is, it's just like, it's just a little much. It's a little much. It's kind of cool to see a brand new monster and a new dimension.
Easy.
Yeah, it was like Frodo and Sam beating Shenlong, except a freaking 100 times bigger. How do you say it?
It's Sheila, but it's now Shenlong.
Shenlong. So that part was a little hard to get behind. Yeah. What about you, Lub? Any gripes?
Well, I feel like Mike. I was never the biggest fan of Mike, but I feel like he really was sidelined this season, along with Joyce as well. Kind of Joyce and Mike were. I mean, Joyce got the cool moment in the finale, getting to finish Vecna off, but I don't know. I feel like it was just too focused on a couple characters, and then the other people were kind of like Lucas, Mike. It was all about like Will. I guess the mains, Will, Elle, Hopper, were kind of the three main characters in this season.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, certain characters didn't shine as much. That goes into, it was so cinematic and such a spectacle that there wasn't a ton of character work. I think there was a couple really solid character moments, but like, Steve, not much to love about Steve in this episode. Jonathan, Nancy, like a lot of the characters that usually are all kind of shining pretty brightly throughout the series. They're just kind of there for a little bit of the action, and kind of there for, just being there. But so not very character driven. With the exception of a couple scenes, I think like Hopper's scene talking to Elle, I think made me tear up pretty good. I thought that was solid. Yeah. Like have a daughter, give her the life you haven't had. You've been through so much. It's a great speech. So it's not like absent of character stuff.
Right. For sure not. Honestly, that wasn't even really a big complaint. I felt like, as far as the character stuff went, they ended it very well. There were multiple emotional scenes for me. It was, again, more the logic of the first half, because the first 45 minutes was defeating Vecna and the Mind Flayer, and then the next hour and 10 minutes was like the epilogue. I felt like that balance should have been a little different, but so that goes again. A lot of my gripes are the first half of this episode, the majority of it. Where were the Demogorgons, the Demobats, the Demodogs? Where were they in this entire showdown where they come into Vecna's home field? And the Duffer Brothers answered, and they shouldn't have. In fact, there's a whole number of answers that they shouldn't have, because they were all. I wish they didn't say anything, because I watched their answers and it's like, that's a garbage answer. That's a garbage answer. So he says the reason why there's no Demogorgons, Demodogs, anything is because Vecna just didn't think they'd come and attack him. Even though Will's connected to the hive mind, he's taunting Hopper in his head with the visions of his daughter. He knows they're coming to attack him, but he didn't know. So he didn't think you should bring in he never thought they'd attack him on his home turf, is what the Duffer Brothers say. So to me, that's a super weak explanation. That doesn't make any sense. It would have been a lot harder fight if they were there.
And then the one where they asked why Will didn't feel pain when Vecna was getting hurt.
And their answer was gone.
Yeah. And their answer was, we just wanted to focus on the final battle. I was like, what?
It's like, but you built up this hive mind pain with Will since season 2. You burned the vines and Will's on the ground writhing. You're doing season 3, season 4. He's heating up there. He's in pain every time the hive mind is attacked. And all of a sudden this kaiju's on fire. Vecna's getting stabbed and head cut off, and Will didn't flinch the whole. So it's one thing if you wanted to focus on the final fight, but don't build up that entire thing and then just drop it at the end and just say, well, we just didn't really care about it at that point. It's like, well, you might as well be David Weiss saying, well, I think Danny just forgot about the Iron Fleet when they kill her dragon. Like, it was just every answer they gave was like, oh, I wish you didn't say anything. They asked him about what the reason was for the 12 kids. Why? Those kids specifically, and the 12 kids. We never really got an answer there. They said it's no specific reason other than he realized how much power he could exert from Will, and to do something bigger, he needed more. So there's not really an explanation to why those kids, why the 12. I don't know. Every answer they gave was just kind of like, yeah, I guess. And then Dr. K, they said, well, I suppose there was nothing more to do. So they packed up and headed out. So Hopper and Nancy murdered all these soldiers. They blew up bases, blew up helicopters, ruined their decades-long CIA operation, and they got caught at the end of it. And now Hopper's chief of police, even though he's technically dead since season 4 or season 3, he's still officially dead in the public eye, but somehow he's chief of police now. And everybody else just got let go by the military. So I just ranted for about 5 minutes, but those are my main gripes with that finale there.
Yeah, completely ignoring the military aspect of that was wild. Elle's gone, so you guys are all good to go. Like, we just saw Hopper mow down like 6 of these dudes.
Well, everyone knows it's the oldest rule in movies and series that if you save the world, all charges are dropped.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it goes, you know? It's I saved the world, but I kill people, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
You know, Linda Hamilton would have dropped at least Hopper on the site right there. As soon as Elle closed that portal, she would have just started unloading on him. Which, by the way, one of the most useless castings, just to throw in an 80s cameo by Dr. K, Linda Hamilton, just a useless character at the end of it all. But
yeah. And really, my only other gripe is, speaking of 90s action star, 80s action stars, is Nancy becoming a 90s action star. I really don't buy into that. I haven't ever since she became one. I don't like that Nancy. I love Nancy season 1 and 2, but man, the action star one doesn't work for me.
I even liked her, but they did it. So thank you. That leads into my last gripe. They didn't hire a single person on this show who has any firearms training, any firearms knowledge, nothing. There are so many issues with the scenes of the firearms. Nancy clears the bolt and the sound design makes a cocking and loading sound, which is just, there's just every little detail of the firearms in this show is like, that's not how firearms work. That's not, she unloaded like 100 shots per mag, but whatever. That's not even the biggest thing. My biggest thing with the firearms and the inconsistencies, volume 1, they have 20 soldiers circle a Demogorgon and they all proceed to just unload, which, by the way, crossfire risk. They would never do that. They're going to kill each other before they kill the Demogorgon. But the biggest issue is they're all 10 feet away, 20 M4s unloading on this Demogorgon. And he's taking shots. He's taking a step back and then he's killing them. Nancy, 500 yards away from a kaiju with one of those guns, hits it, and the kaiju is getting rocked, like falling back. Like, what, the Demogorgons can take that point blank, but the kaiju, that's too much. That's too much firepower. Like, it was just, it's really inconsistent with the entire thing with that. They just should have hired somebody that knew what they were talking about that. Because at points it did take me out of it. It's like, why is this M4 rocking this 500-foot tall monster? He wouldn't even feel it. Like, it would not feel it. That was, I got that off my chest. I'm ready to be positive now, guys. But
I got 2 more quick ones.
Okay, there we go.
So I said last episode, I was talking about how standing at the top of the tower and waiting for the 2 worlds to collide was kind of a dumb, risky idea. And it almost turned out to kill someone. I'm like, why? I don't understand why they had to wait till the last second to where they were almost converged and then hope that Elle goes and stops Vecna in time. Because they're standing up there, the world's coming down on their heads. They're like, holy crap, where's Elle? What's going on? It's like, why are you guys like standing up here like 2 feet away? I don't know. That really stressed me out. And I thought it was dumb.
And it needed to perfectly thread the needle of one of the cracks, which was out of sight. So they genuinely had no idea if this was, they're lucky the crack was even that close. Like, if there was no crack there, it would have crashed the tower and they'd just be stuck up there and would have been able to get through. So that was another, again, it was more of a Goonies type storytelling.
Right.
But
as it got more action sci-fi oriented, it kind of got a little sillier as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you kind of pick your poison. You got your spectacle, but then you got a lot of plot holes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big fan of the scene at the end with Nancy and John and Steve and Robin when they're on the roof and they're all talking, oh, I'm a successful writer and I'm a successful blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, we're going to plan to meet up once a month at Robin's weird uncle's house. And it just like, that's obviously not going to happen. That like people say they're going to do that and it doesn't happen.
Knowing
it just felt super corny. It just felt corny and not like like how real people would interact in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
That happens all the time in this show too. Just especially when they plan, the way that it just doesn't come off as genuine conversation at all.
Right.
Yeah. But that's okay. All right. So gripes out of the way. Let's get into the positive stuff and let's talk about some characters that might have stood out. Dave, which characters did you think they did really well with in the finale?
They nailed Henry. I wish they would have gone even further into it, but still, the stuff they did give us, the acting by Jamie Campbell Bower when he's having his moment in the cave and he's seeing his young self having to kill that scientist and the stone, and for a second there, we think that dreaded Vader turn is going to come and he's going to flip and attack the Mind Flayer like Billy did at the end of season 3. But they didn't do it, and I'm really glad they didn't. Will thinks he's misunderstood and he's just a victim, and then last second he goes, no, he's right. Humanity's garbage. Like I'm fully in for the cause here, and so that was a nice turn, and the acting by Jamie Campbell Bower was amazing. So my biggest standout for this finale episode for sure is Vecna and Jamie Campbell Bower.
Yeah, I really like that scene when Will is trying to convince him, because it was just like the perfect amount of almost going over to the light side and then just, nah, fuck that. I'm still going to destroy everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did really well with Vecna and Elle. So like pretty much the ones I wanted them to do good with. They nailed it. I like their little last fight, even though I'm not a huge fan of like raising your hand and having the people flying all over the place. Like that's your fight. That gets a little. I mean, you could just do whatever you want to with that. Like, so as far as that goes, it was still pretty cool though. At least it was climactic enough. I mean, yeah, Love, you were still cooking a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, when it comes to Jamie Campbell, I know he's casted in Rings of Power, maybe, but what would you guys like to? What would you guys like to see him? You think it could be like a Marvel, DC? Because I thought Targaryen would be cool for him.
Absolutely, he could be a Targaryen. I would love to see him as a villain, like
a Batman villain, maybe.
Yeah, like Scarecrow. Give him a Scarecrow role. He would kill it. Something like that. He'd be a really good imposing villain, psychological villain. I can't top that.
Yeah. I feel like he's gonna blow up after this. Like he's gonna be in some movies.
I think so.
Another standout.
Yeah.
Hopper. I think Hopper was a really standout in this one. That. So the emotion with that scene with Elle was beautiful, and he acted that so well. He was literally tearing up. Like it really felt like he was digging deep for those words, like in a real personal way. And it was beautiful. Like you see it in his eyes that it felt so real. And that one got me. It was beautiful. And pretty decent action from Hopper. It's just that in Stranger Things, I don't think they ever really nail like that kind of action, but he did some cool stuff.
He had a good kill streak. Like when he like 5 in a row out the door. Yeah.
Yeah. The Vecna messing with his mind, having him thinking he shot Elle. I didn't for one second think that was Elle. Did you guys? Okay.
It was still a good scene though. It kind of threw me off for just a second.
Yeah.
No, that scene was heartbreaking though. The thing with his kid and he sees the tanks of Agent Orange, and you just remember like this fool has been living with the guilt that he got poisoned in Vietnam and he's the reason his daughter died of cancer because of his exposure to Agent Orange. Like just seeing that hallucination with him and his dying daughter there and knowing he's just been tortured and Elle was the one who saved him from that torture. Like it was just such an emotional scene. It was done really well. And David Harbour killed it. And weirdly enough, had 3 different scenes in 1 year of him being held back and screaming as his adoptive daughter dies. He did it in Thunderbolts and in Marvel Zombies. 3 different David Harbour scenes, all with the same exact premise, all in 2025. But he nailed every one of them.
Vecna had a couple solid scenes where he's messing with people's minds. I thought it was a really solid scene when you thought he had Max's mind again. And she stands up out of the wheelchair and you're like, no. I just thought that scene was really cool until they get Elle and 8 come up. And that's still cool. But man, just the scene there really had me feeling scared.
Yeah, exactly.
It made me miss season 4 just because I really like that eerie aspect of the nightmare sequences of season 4 where they went from reality to all of a sudden, oh crap, I'm in Vecna's in my mind kind of deal. So I got excited for a bit. I thought we were going to get more Vecna play, but it was just Elle and Callie, but it was still cool.
I did like the proposal scene at the end too, with At Last playing when they start dancing. That was a good scene to wrap up their stories.
That Joyce and Hopper.
Yeah.
That's the same waiter from season 3, except that fool put on like 90 pounds. It was
really
crazy. Yeah, I was like, oh
no,
our boy got a little chunk down there.
Oop.
How'd you guys feel about the ending after all the conflict was wrapped up? And there was a good, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of what I thought was really a really nice ending. So how'd you guys feel about that?
The wrap up overall,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
the
got
kind of
it.
epilogue. No, I feel like that part was cool. That I love the Dungeons and Dragons game. The final Dungeons and Dragons game
That's
together
great.
was a great way to end the show. And then it shows Mike's little Holly coming down with her friends, like the next generation of D&D players, and Mike kind of gives a look back, like that's pretty cool. Like, you know, that this basement and all the memories we made doesn't end here. You know, my
Yeah.
little sister and her friends get to make new memories in the basement. So, I mean, I didn't love the on top of the roof stuff, but it's still kind of, they gave everyone time to wrap up their story.
Agreed. Didn't care about the roof characters. That D&D scene was freaking golden. Brings it full circle right back to season one. But Max was when Max like didn't get the rules and she gets up and just starts knocking stuff down. It's like, what was that? It felt so weird.
She was
And
like
then
over the top into it.
yeah,
Why'd she have a big binder? Also, she's never played the game, and she put up a big binder on the shelf. I don't know why she had a big
don't know.
D&D binder,
The
but
rules, maybe.
it's her initiation. She has to learn. Here's your binder.
Well, oh, sorry.
yeah.
But then while we're on that scene though,
I
what
was gonna
Max
say-
or not Max, what Mike says about Elle, how do we feel about that? Is that just him doing what Elle wanted him to do and give them a story that eases their souls? Or is it the Duffer saying that, you know, Elle is alive?
She did.
No, I think I agree with Dave. It's what Hopper told him on the bench, you know, like, or what he told Hopper on the bench, where I need to make them understand why Elle did what she did. Because Callie was dead, probably. And Elle was on the, like Dave said, Elle was still in the upside down. She could have like done her mind trick still to talk to Mike one last time. So I think he's the storyteller. He was just like the storyteller for this Dungeons and Dragons game. And now he's talking about the mage who was 11 and her, you know, heroic ending basically. So I think he was just making it up to make
Yeah.
everyone feel a little better.
Is it that, do you think part of it is like leave it up for the audience to believe what they want, or to have the Duffer brothers confirm?
That's what
either
they
way?
said. They said they
Okay.
left it for the viewer to decide on their own. They thought it'd be better if they decided, but they didn't do a good job at convincing that it was a real thing. I don't know. I have a biased answer, but I'm gonna say it because in 2022, our 5th episode, we ended Stranger Things season 4. I said the series is gonna end with Elle standing in the upside down, sacrificing herself to close the portal for good, and she'll die at the end of it. That's what happened if she's not really alive. So I have to make the case she's dead to stand for my point. So I'm right because I can't say I'm wrong. Callie definitely bled out by then. How would she have known exactly when to make Elle go invisible? Because Mike was cuddling Elle in the truck. So Elle was there that whole time. Those weapons were in the right side up. Elle was in the upside down. There was something else too, but the C4 went off, exploded, the buildings being wiped out. Like, I don't know. I don't see how in the world Callie would have been able to make that perfect of a image there. So she's dead. I choose not to believe. Sorry, guys. But I will say there were a couple, they did make a point to show that scene with her and Callie where Callie tells her, this was always going to be my end, but it doesn't have to be yours, which was a total different thing than what she was saying the entire time. So they made it seem like she had a change of heart there. But I'm going with Elle's dead.
Plus, they did show a scene of her walking around what looked like, you know, Norway or something. So it's like they showed a scene of her. So it's like to just show what was happening in Mike's mind.
Yeah, it was Mike painting the picture. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I want to say I'm right. The only thing, she was the one who deserved a happy ending more than any character in that show. And she was the only one who pretty much didn't get it. Because even if she is still alive, she's on the run and hiding and doesn't know anybody out there and has to start fresh. And, you know, it's still pretty socially awkward. So.
And then 8 didn't really become like an agent of chaos or an agent of really anything. She didn't.
Most of our theories were wrong,
wasn't she?
Yeah, she wasn't very important.
So that was really strange.
I just thought of the Thanos meme from Endgame. Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Yeah. She just got gut shot and died and then got blown up.
She was a real one. She helped out 11 the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody was quick to be like, don't trust her.
Yeah.
And she just
Everybody.
she just dies. How did she go out again?
She got
got
shot in the
shot.
butt.
Yeah,
That's right.
because the helicopter exploded.
See,
Yeah.
because I thought for a second that was fake. I thought she was faking her own death, and she was going to come back in the climax in some really destructive way.
I told Megan was sitting next to me. I was like, this might be an illusion. I still don't trust her. She's bleeding out.
They treated you too harshly.
I did want to say about the D&D scene at the end there. It was a perfectly, I mean, the whole series opened with the sprinklers and Mike narrating at D&D, and then the last scene of the series is the same thing. There are still people out there, though, claiming that this entire thing was still Mike's story. And when Karen comes in and opens the door and says, the lasagna below, she doesn't appear to have any scars on her neck or chest. And all the kids are like talking to Mike, like, oh, get out of here, you stupid blow up. Which is like, would they be acting like that after he just saved her from an interdimensional demon? Wouldn't they have like a closer, kind of be a different mentality? I don't know. There was a few things that people were pointing out going, I still think the entire series was a D&D story, but obviously the Duffers didn't say it was, so that's not the case. But it didn't look like Karen had scars, so it's like maybe they just forgot. Maybe those scars healed in 18 months.
Well, and you could see the scars during Dustin's speech.
Yeah,
exactly. They're gnarly. That's how you know there's no way those are gone in 18 months. Those are like 2 inches thick across the throat.
Those are forever scars.
And did nobody ask, like, what the hell happened, Karen? What are those claw marks?
It would have been cool to see like a public press release of them telling everybody what the heck just happened.
Yeah, they all just said it was an earthquake. Classic.
Yeah.
Classic
Ted's alive.
History.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. He came in big time, man. I wouldn't have been okay with the finale if I didn't see my boy. So came in strong. He's alive and well, baby.
God, they don't give a shit about him. He didn't even like have a single line of dialogue in the finale after being in the hospital.
No, he did.
He's in the upside down if not for Ted.
He said his language line one time during graduation when Dustin had a speech, which, by the way, was fantastic. The Dustin speech, I think we all agree that scene was great. He gets up there as valedictorian, just starts telling everybody off and does exactly what Eddie said he was going to do when he graduated in the season 4 opener. So that was dope. Great scene. Dustin's mom starts getting stoked, like that whole scene.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Just screw conformity, bro. Let's go.
I do agree that roof scene too. I probably wouldn't have cared if Steve wasn't on there. I think that was the only reason I even cared about the scene, was just to see what happened with Steve. But yeah, I don't
Baseball
care about
coach.
Jonathan. Hell yeah.
I just think Steve was stronger in almost all the other seasons. Like his character didn't have much to do this season and not much chance to shine. A couple solid scenes.
Him and Dustin kind of.
Yeah.
But that was annoying for the most part.
Yeah.
Until they made up. But yeah, for this season as a whole, yeah, there was a lot less enjoyable Steve sequences for me.
Yeah. What else is there to talk about? We covered 8L. We can move on to comparing it to It Welcome to Derry, if you guys have no other details to talk about.
Do you want to talk about like maybe the Max Holly at all? I don't know. There's some with that. Not a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Derek didn't fit through that hole. That's all I got on that one.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, we don't have to jump to It Welcome to Derry, but I will say that the villain did need a bunch of kids to succeed in his plans for both of his plans. And obviously there's so many parallels with It and Welcome to Derry, but I would say the mind stuff just felt a little weird for me, like dealing with a whole new like way that he's messing with people's minds, and then a whole new dimension. I actually really like the dimension stuff. It really, by the way, feels, if you guys are the comic people out there, feels so much like what we're going to get out of Secret Wars, just like the incursion aspect with these universes colliding. So that was interesting to see them go to that scale.
That was an incursion.
Yeah. But going from a grounded thriller horror to that is wild. This is wild.
It's true.
Yeah, I feel like they set up such a cool mystery with Vecna and the storytelling and the montages we got in season 4 of like his background as a kid. And then I don't know, man. Yeah, I felt like they could have leaned into that more during this finale and gave us more. I know they say, well, the first Shadow is on Broadway and it tells his origin. It's like, cool, I'm not going to Broadway to watch that play. And I would have rather just seen like a 5-minute montage of who the hell was in that cave. You know, what happened with the Russians? Was that a Russian scientist? Because there was a whole Russian plot here that we never touched on. So I really wanted that whole Henry thing in the cave to be explored more. But it sounds like we're getting spinoffs. And it sounds like one of those spinoffs is going to be more background of that stone that Henry picked up that gave him the power of the mind flare there. So if that's the case, that's the only spinoff I care about. I don't care about Nancy being a journalist or where the animated between seasons 2 and 3. I don't care. But if they give us more background on that cave and that suitcase with Henry there, that is something I can get on board with another Stranger Things extension.
That would feel like Welcome to Derry at that point.
A
little bit,
flashback.
Now, if we're not comparing season 5 to Welcome to Derry, which only has one season, so pick our favorite season of Stranger Things. Does it top Welcome to Derry season 1?
Yeah,
It's very different.
It is kind of different. It's tough.
I'd probably put Stranger Things season 1 above it still.
Me too.
Overall,
can't
I
even
was
give a
just so
confident answer.
surprised by Welcome to Derry. But yeah, I think I'd have to give the nod to Stranger Things.
Yeah. David says Stranger Things can enter the top 10 most beautiful series in history. How do you guys feel about that? Could this land in your top 10 series of all time?
Sci-fi maybe, all around, no. Like it's not pushing out certain.
David
Other-
Castiglione, you just gave us a really good episode idea. Top 10 series all time, nerd or not nerd. See what lines up. Okay.
I mean, beautiful is a subjective. I mean, it's very, it depends on your interpretation of beautiful.
Eye of the
guess. So
beholder.
it's hard to say. Yeah. But I think as far as series go, it'll stand the test of time. I think it was an iconic, piece of pop culture.
Yeah, for me, it stands out because it has this really beautiful mix of characters, heart, emotion, also fear and the horror aspect and the mystery aspect, and some really, really solid characters, just like great characters to move along with. Not only, and then you add to that also a supernatural aspect with Elle and her powers and the corruption of the system. It blends a lot of stuff together in a really, really cool way. I personally think Stranger Things would make it into my top 10 series of all time, but yeah, that's a good episode to dive into.
Dude, speaking of season 1 and the whole start of this whole thing and like the mystery behind it and how because we kind of got away. First season, second season, both were kind of darker, more grounded mystery. Even like the color lens and the shooting of it was like darker colors, like the whole tone of the show. And then season 3 with the mall, it got very colorful. And then all of a sudden we had these cartoonish newspaper characters and it started getting more wild and kind of out there in the later seasons. But the first 2 were very grounded and dark. And I wanted to say, so there was a little Easter egg at the end here where Hopper says he's going to be the chief of Montauk. That's the next place he's heading. And that's a big little, it's an Easter egg because there's something called the Montauk Project, which is what the show is said to have been based on, actually. And it was a military experiment, I think, out in New Jersey. Hold on, let me see before I talk out of my ass. New York. And the military was developing psychological warfare techniques and possibly delving into time travel and a lot of MK Ultra-ish type experimentation on children and stuff like that. And there were reports where a kid escaped. There was this whole local article about local townspeople seeing weirdly shaped beings around the town during these experiments. So this whole thing. So if you go and look up the Montauk Project, that's kind of what Stranger Things was based on. And so it's interesting that Hopper said he's going to go be the chief of police in Montauk. So a bunch of people were theorizing there would be a spinoff about Montauk. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen, but that's the series started off kind of like a show like that, like a crazy conspiracy grounded deal. And then it blew up into this crazy sci-fi, very colorful Goonies type thing. But
Right.
still overall, yeah, it was still a solid season and they ended it very well emotionally with all the character ties. And that's hard to do. A lot of shows don't do that. So that in itself is something to be said.
Yeah. Another one in the chat. Zakataka 220. Season 1 of Stranger Things, one of the best season 1s of all time. Now that seems kind of, most of the time series have a pretty slow season 1, whereas Stranger Things, it's maybe all of our favorites, So I think you have a case to make there. Ash B 1102. I thought Stranger Things ended perfectly. I personally think the second half of the finale felt more like Stranger Things. I would agree with that compared to like a season 2 and 3. Like the second half of this finale felt really more like Stranger Things. And like I said in the beginning, it may be not as much of the great characters and stuff like that, but it did have the vibes of more of the Stranger Things. I mean, more so than season 2 and 3. I think.
Right when I finished the finale, I was like, wow, that was amazing. And then I kind of went on the internet a little bit and saw like people picking out balls and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, damn it. That makes sense. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I
that
guess I
makes
forgot
sense.
about that.
You know? Yeah.
To some extent, it's like the internet kind of makes
It ruins everything.
Yeah. It's like you could enjoy that for a little longer until you yourself figured it out on your second watch.
Right.
The internet's gotta let you know what's wrong with everything.
But it's true too. When I watched it through and it ended, and there were points I was still writing down a couple gripes, and like when Joyce takes off Vecna's head, which was dope. They let Joyce be the one to do that, and I swear I thought Vecna was going to say Joyce, like they knew each other from back in the day. That did not happen. But anyway, she did that, and I was like, "This feels soon." I checked the time. I was like, "There's still an hour left. What the hell? There's something's got to pop off."
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, but really nothing happened. But by the end of it, the credits hit. I was like, all right, that was good.
Well, Elle sacrificed herself after that.
Right. Well, that's because I don't know why they drove through the
the gate.
Vecna got him, dude.
Yeah. Look at his face.
He's back.
Why did they drive through the gate?
Well, why did they drive through the gate laughing and smiling as if the military wasn't waiting for them? As if they thought they just disappeared. It was a military base they drove through to get to the portal. Like, what? I don't know. That was dumb. But I totally forgot where I was going with that after I got cut off. So I'm glad I took the time to say all this.
Damn it.
I think we're on the same boat as David, so I don't know who needs to reevaluate 3 and 2. That's all of our least favorite seasons.
Yep, that's my exact list right there.
1, 4, 5 is our best.
Yep, and then 3 and
which
2.
is cool because, like as we say, season 1 usually not the best series. On top of that, finales usually aren't the best finales. So Stranger Things does kind of at least excel with their season 1, and they did a really good finale. So that's good.
I will say a lot of Netflix shows have very good season 1s, and then they have really bad, they crumble. There's a lot of those Netflix shows that had great season 1s. People got hyped, and then it just got bad. So the fact they at least were able to carry this on and complete it is a Netflix testament, because Netflix doesn't have a high percentage on that.
Yeah. All right, cool. So versus Welcome to Derry, we got into it a little bit. So how about this? Where would a season 1 Welcome to Derry fit on your Stranger Things season ranking? And we got basically, let's all say 1 is our favorite, 4 is second, 5 is third place. Where's it fit into that?
Ooh. I really like Stranger Things season 4. I just loved the whole Vecna and the nightmare sequences, and it just totally brought a whole nother layer to it. So it's hard to put Welcome to Derry above that.
And it has my favorite action scene too, with the helicopter and Elle bringing that thing down.
Oh,
Yeah, that was dope.
And Papa dying.
Yeah,
Scene.
I think I got to go season 4 over Welcome to Derry. So Welcome to Derry season 1 would be third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd put it over Stranger Things season 5.
Me too. Yeah, I think I do. It was just really good. And I think that, especially comparing season 5, the characters in Welcome to Derry, I was much more invested in and engaged with. Whereas the season 5 characters of Stranger Things, half of them were just there, so.
Well, no spoiler alerts, but our cities are tomorrow, and there is a best villain category, and maybe a Welcome to Derry or a Stranger Things character could be in that. What do you guys think?
Little showdown there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could see a couple of those kick off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you put Homelander above Vecna or Pennywise as a villain?
Totally
Not this
different
year.
type, but yeah, that's
Not this year, not for 25, just in general.
Just in general?
TV villain.
Ooh.
Homelander's probably.
He's pretty good.
He's
So
probably
pretty
up
good.
there. Yeah.
weirdly
Yeah.
dark and sinister and twisty.
If
Yeah.
Vecna had more time, maybe, and was explained better and had a little bit more screen time. But Homelander's tough to top as far as villains go.
Yeah, and I guess let's dig a little more into Vecna and like how that all ended up. So he wasn't the big bad of the whole thing, really. It was the mind
Right.
flare. You got this rock, and the rock is where the mind flare instilled into Vecna, or So explain any of this to me, because let's at least talk about how that worked out. The Kaiju, the Mind Flare, Vecna. So what do you guys make of this? It turns out the Mind Flare was controlling Vecna that whole time. It was all on his will.
Yeah, I really like that scene though, where Holly hides in the cave and then he like slowly starts to walk in, and then the memory starts to flash and he's like crawling on his legs, and then he finally goes around the corner and he's like pushing himself to get through this memory. It's like this darkest memory. And then the stone like absorbs into his hand and like disappears into him. So I wonder if it's like the Mind Flare, like, or maybe they like did some operation and like got this piece from Dimension X, but I don't know. No, well, the Dimension X wasn't even created yet.
No,
Or was it
Dimension
there?
X existed. It always
Okay.
existed,
Okay.
and they accidentally. Again, this is why it's annoying. Like, you shouldn't have to watch the Broadway show to understand a massive plot point of this entire villain. But evidently, yeah, Dr. Brenner's dad, a whole like naval ship, accidentally they were experimenting with time travel, and they accidentally got transported to Dimension X, and the entire crew got torn apart by Demogorgons. The only survivor was Brenner's dad, and so Brenner was obsessed with recreating these experiments to get back to Dimension X. And the Upside Down was created when L touched that Demogorgon in season 1. It created the branch wormhole between Dimension X and Earth, and then from that point on is when. So I just, it's such a cool story that it's really frustrating. That was like my favorite part of this whole series, was the story of the Upside Down, and getting, and the Duffers said we would get an explanation. We learned stuff we didn't know, and that aspect was that it was a wormhole. But that was really all we learned. We didn't learn a lot of the origin stuff.
What Dustin wrote on the wall.
The caves there and the stone, exactly. So I don't know. I always knew the Mind Flayer was in control at the end of the day. I was pretty confident about that. I didn't think it was Vecna controlling him. But God, man, yeah, the stone, where'd it come from? Who is that scientist? Was he Russian? Are the Russians still a part of this whole thing? Why were the Russians brought in for 2 seasons? All of that stuff of that part gets frustrating, but it's a cool concept. I would like to know more without watching a Broadway play.
Yeah. Anything else to touch on in the episode?
Let me see.
I will say Joyce's line to Vecna, "You fucked with the wrong family," was a dope line.
The one F word they
used.
used.
Yeah.
Yep, they used
Oh,
it
is
pretty
that
well.
the case?
Yeah, that was their one they used there, which was it was used pretty solid. Called that tree being a massive monster. Nancy had that vision season 4, saying there was a big monster with a gaping mouth that Vecna showed her, and it ended up being that giant kaiju, which I guess was the Mind Flayer.
Yeah,
but I thought it would look cooler. I didn't think it would just be a spider again.
Right. People were kind of complaining about that. They liked the ominous, kind of blurry look of the Mind Flayer over this kaiju, and I kind of prefer that too, especially since it's in another dimension. This feels like a Godzilla monster, you know?
Yeah. It would have been cool if it was the Thessal Hydra or something that they kind of teased in season 1, and Will drew that picture of the 3-headed dragon fighting the knight. So a lot of theories where there was going to be a 3-headed dragon in the Dimension X. It was this massive monster, because even the demo bats are flying around season 4. You hear this massive monster growling. Like, it ain't demo bats. Like, it was massive. So it was kind of a letdown that it was just a kaiju spider.
You know, and Will, it's like he got his powers and it helped him do a couple things, but that at the end of the day didn't make a ton of sense. Did it? I mean, it's like,
he helped.
Why did he get some of those powers? And
Right.
That was kind of weird. It felt like 8, like they threw that in there. I thought that was going to have much more impact, you know, as it ended, but I don't know. They kind of just threw it in there and it helped him out with a couple of missions, and that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Duffers left a couple of things kind of.
I don't know. I think maybe that they just tried to stuff too much into this, because going from where season 1 was so grounded, they might have just taken it a little too far, dude. Like even getting introduced to Vecna felt pretty far in season 4, but in a really good way. Like, we loved it. But yeah, stop there. Like we talked about earlier, it became a little much, like with everything else they added to that. Whereas they had something pretty, they had, you know, don't fix what's not broken. With that Vecna stuff, it was already elevated quite high, but then they just kept going and going, and they're like, let's go, let's do it. Kaiju, dimensions.
I didn't need the machine guns and giant monsters. I didn't really need in this show, you know?
Yeah, because the action didn't like fit. There was a couple good action scenes.
Right.
Otherwise, it felt like they were just trying to get some action in there and some guns blazing.
Exactly. Well, when you add an action without any type of, again, anybody on site who really knows how to shoot these action sequences and how to make it realistic, it just feels like filler. It just feels like, all right, well, let's see some scenes of Hopper shooting in 8 different directions and every single one of them hitting every soldier, and our heroes don't take any incoming fire. It feels meaningless. It's like, all right, cool. We got some shots with them shooting guns. Didn't look accurate for some reason. Hopper unloads a revolver and you hear shell casings clattering on the ground. It's like revolvers don't eject casings when they shoot. So it's just, they kept adding this firearm stuff that didn't make sense, and they just didn't do a good job of it. So it was like, just leave that out. It doesn't need to have, the show is great in season 1 without the firepower, and you're not doing it well anyways. So just tell the other parts of the stories better. Let's get back to Vecna. I don't need I was excited about the military stuff leading into this season, actually, but it was kind of underwhelming.
Especially because Welcome to Derry did the military stuff so well.
Yeah, it was at least realistic, even though they were idiots too, but like at least felt more realistic.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't all stand in a circle and start shooting their guns at Pennywise.
They would have all killed each other. They would have all been dead.
So I think as far as fandom series, the bar is kind of low, right? So Stranger Things, I think it wouldn't be a surprise if this is better than maybe all series that came out of DC or Marvel. I don't know.
This Loki season 1 and 2 is probably the top for everyone, right?
Or Daredevil, I'm thinking. I was wondering where you would
Netflix
put Stranger
Daredevil.
Things as a whole compared to the Netflix Daredevil as a whole. Because that's top of the line for me. And I don't think there's one that, and except Peacemaker season 1 as well. But then season 2 as a whole brought that below Stranger Things for me. So Daredevil, I think, is the only one for me anyway that it matches up against.
It's hard to speak on ones that haven't finished like Peacemaker. I think Peacemaker has a chance of being better, but we'll see where they go with it. Yeah, Netflix's Daredevil is just they're very different shows. They're done very differently. But as far as my enjoyment, pound for pound, I got more enjoyment out of Daredevil for sure. So I'd put Daredevil above it. Game of Thrones for sure, even with season 8 still going over Stranger Things.
Sons of Anarchy.
No, Stranger Things is better. I love Sons of Anarchy, but when I went back and watched it in the last year or so, there's a lot of corny moments. There's a lot of stuff that just makes no sense. It's totally unbelievable. Like
CW style.
There's a lot of just goofy, like, okay, I was definitely 15 when I watched the show the first time. Like that's pretty bad.
But peak Sons of Anarchy still is. I don't think Stranger Things tops peak Sons of Anarchy, but as a whole, probably better.
Well, is that fandom?
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
But I'm just curious.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, back to fandom. I would have to think. I know there's a lot of fandom shows that like I just haven't thought about.
Rings of Power.
What's
House
number
of the
one
Dragon?
Star Wars series?
Yeah, like there
Andor?
you go.
Andor?
Quality wise, Andor.
Mandalorian season 1, 2.
Mando, Andor, yeah.
So
Yes.
Mandalorian season 1, season 2, and Andor.
Yeah, I'd put Mando season 2 over Stranger Things probably.
But that's
Mando
just
as
plucking
a-
one season. As a series as a whole, Stranger Things is way stronger for me than the Mando
Yeah,
series.
right.
Just because the season 3 dropping off. Andor, though, higher than Stranger Things quality wise. But again, it's hard. It's limited 2-season run on a story we already know compared to a 5-season brand new, well, kind of brand new. They took half of their concepts from other projects, but
Yeah,
I was gonna say it took 9 years.
yeah.
I'd still put it over Andor only because Andor is amazing quality wise, but it is a little slow for me. Like I don't ever feel like rewatching Andor. It's just moves a bit slow,
Yeah.
even though everything it's perfect. But
So that obviously Game of Thrones had a very controversial ending. But the thing is the first 6 seasons were so high above any other show as far as storytelling and quality and detail and everything went that it could have been canceled at season 6 and it would still be like at the top of my list. So yes,
Same.
season 8 was awful. Season 7, I think is still enjoyable to rewatch. You just have to turn your brain off, but it has some great episodes in there. It was so good that a single season can't take it away from me. Yeah, they ruined some character endings for sure, but it's still peak.
And if we're talking about Game of Thrones, the Jon kills Dany and then Grey Worm kind of forgets about it. That was kind of the same thing with Stranger Things. Like
He just sailed home.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think that about covers it. You guys good?
Yeah. I mean,
Official
think-
rating. 1 out of
yeah.
10?
There you go. I was just
Oh, I'd have to call back
as the
to my
season or the finale.
The season as a whole.
Yeah.
Season as a whole.
I want to naturally say like a 7.9.
Ah, that's mine.
It feels right about right, which is good for a
If volume
a
2 was
series
better, it would have been in the 8s for me. But volume 2 really, I just
Slow.
thought volume 2 was very weak, man. It was very weak, and got to point it out. They went back and checked the timing, and the scene that Will comes out at the end of episode 7 has a longer runtime than the entire face-off with Vecna and the Mind Flayer. So I'll just leave that as it is. Weird
Nailed it.
decision, in my opinion, but whatever, I guess. But yeah, 7.9 for me on this one.
is that series or season?
Season, just the season.
Yeah.
Series, I don't know. I would have to think about that one. I got to go look at my other season ratings, but season 7.9, which is why it's disappointing. I thought this was going to be mid 8s at least for season 5.
Yeah.
Just weak
At
middle.
least for with a 7.9, I think it shined by feeling cinematic, feeling like a spectacle. They nailed that part of a finale and wrapping everything up in a nice epilogue. I really loved that epilogue. So they did a lot of things that finales have to do. It's just they just took a little bit out of the core of Stranger Things and went just full blown sci-fi wild action, which was full of spectacle. But yeah, that's why it's not like a freaking 9.
This is the 30th show we have ranked on the podcast that at least I have written down. This is number 30.
Nice.
So in my rankings, I have Alien Earth at an 8.1. Do you think was Alien Earth better than this? I think it was.
I think I was more
close.
intrigued by Alien Earth. Yeah, I was more kind of into it. I want to rewatch it more.
Yeah, I'd probably put it.
But I don't know. I
think
probably can't
I
put
wanna-
it above, actually.
I want to give it an 8.1. I want to put it over an
the
8.
season.
Yeah,
Okay.
because volume 1 was good. I thought the first 4 were good,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then 5 was decent. 6 and 7 were slow, and then the finale was pretty solid as well. So it wasn't all bad.
Episode 5 was good. 6 and 7 were pretty weak for me, but 5 was good. I mean, that was Shock Jock. That was oh god, get this guy out of here. Where's the remove from stage? All right. He's yeah, I as far as everything goes, it was disappointing to an extent, but they did a good job at wrapping up the characters in an emotional way. And I think that's one of the harder things to do with series. So the fact that they tied it all off with the characters at the end, I think speaks volumes. So they should be at least proud of that part.
Yeah, I'll say I'm not disappointed, actually. I'm not disappointed by this, really. It's just kind of, it was good. So
Yeah, I still enjoyed it overall.
yeah.
Yeah.
The scene with breaking Vecna's leg was really good. Yeah, I really like seeing Will do any of that stuff. His eyes go white.
Right.
It always just makes me wonder why the hell he has a part of his powers. So they didn't really explain a few things, but
And doesn't take damage anymore. It's fine.
all right. Well, tomorrow, will be our annual Cities Awards. So this is where we're going to give best actors, best actresses, best series, best movies. It's our yearly awards for fandom, a little bit of non-fandom stuff too. But that's what's one of our big episodes. So come check that out. It's a lot of fun. We're going to discuss everything that happened in 25. And then after that, we'll look forward into 2026 and rank our excitement and, the movies and series coming out. It's going to be one of the most packed nerd years in a very long time. So I'm real happy to be covering it because we started this podcast when everything became shitty for some reason. Marvel,
Yeah.
Star Wars, and DC just started shit in the bed for a few years when we started, but it's okay.
But we got
Now we're
House
gonna
of
be
the
here
Dragon,
when-
Rings of Power. We've been there for all of that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no
there's-
regrets. We've had a great time. It's just ironic how I'm just excited to get back into a world where nerd movies are going to thrive because
Right.
I do see that future here. If it's not this year, next year, but yeah, we're going to have
We
a lot
started
of
with
great
Quantumania.
stuff to cover.
Yeah.
Quantumania and Love of
Love
Thunder.
and
I think, were
Thunder.
the first 2 ones we got to review, and then Black Adam, and then Blue Beetle, I think. Yeah, we had some rough
Flash.
ones. Yeah, the
Flash.
Flash. Good lord.
Like,
Yeah. rough.
and then
It's a
all the
rough
Disney
start.
Plus shows that way you just didn't even cover because they weren't that good.
Yeah.
So take a look for all that great stuff. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time at Why So City, a Nerd Podcast.